everyone, this is Mrs. Pagan, and in today's lesson we will be solving systems of linear equations using inverse matrices. We will definitely need a calculator, so make sure you take out your calculator. As you can see, I have mine right next to me. Alright, so first what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to use the matrices to come up with the system of linear equations. Okay, so there's three methods we learn: graphing, substitution, and elimination, also known as linear combination. Well, now inverse matrices can be your fourth method. So this is method number 4, which is really cool. We like to give you many options so that you have different ways of solving similar problems. Alright, let's go into this one. We have a matrix, then we have a variable matrix. So this right here is the first matrix that we have. And then we have our variable matrix. And then these are the end results. This is our last matrix. And what we're going to do is kind of use these matrices to come up with the linear system. Alright, well, we know that 5 and negative 4 are going to have to match up with x and the y. So it goes in order. 5 is first, x is first. Negative 4 is next, y is next, equals 8. And we match it with the first number that we see on the other side. We're going to do something very similar with the 1 and the 2. So we're going to, hold on, sorry, I don't know, I can't change it. So 1 and 2, we're going to match 1 with x, and we're going to do positive because it's positive 2 with y. So we're matching 1 with x, 2 with y, and we're going to set that equal to 6. So that's how you would obtain your linear system. And now what we're going to do is kind of work backwards using this idea. So basically what we do is, if we have a linear system like this, we make sure that it's in order. And we have the x's lined up, the y's lined up, the equal signs lined up, and then the values on the other side of the equation all lined up. And we analyze and we highlight the leading coefficients. So 2 is 1, negative is 1, but we know that's not really negative, it's a negative 1. Negative 4 is next, and positive 9 is next. Those highlighted values will create our first matrices. So I'm going to actually put a 1 there. So our first matrices will be 2, negative 1, negative 4, and 9. Our second matrices will be our variable matrices. So our variables are x and y. X will go on top because that's the first one, and y will go on the bottom because that's the second one. We're also going to have an equal sign, and then we're going to have our values on the other side of the equal sign. Well, we have negative 4 and 1, positive 1, so we're going to write them in the order that we see them, negative 4 and positive 1. Once we have this, we can go ahead and solve using inverse matrices, which we have learned and done in class before, and we've even quizzed on it. So what we're going to do is label each one, and Alex loves to do this, label them on top. So I'm just going to label them on top with a little circle. We're going to make sure that matrix A is this matrix right here, matrix B is this one right here, and we're going to go ahead and solve it. So we have matrix A. We're going to label this one matrix X equals matrix B. Now, in order to get rid of matrix A and solve for matrix B, we need to go ahead and solve for the inverse. And as we always say, must be on the left. So we're going to go ahead, inverse of matrix A is on the left. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put inverse of matrix A on the left, as well as on the other side on the left. Alright, so we have these two matrices cancel. We're left with x equals A inverse times matrix B. So now all we have to do is input these into the calculator and get our solution. So if we're solving for x, we're going to have the following. We're going to go to second matrix, and we're going to go to the edit section. We've done this plenty of times, so I'm going to move a little bit faster. It is a 2 by 2, our matrix A, as you can see right here. And our entries are 2, enter, negative 1, enter, negative 4, enter, and 9, enter. And I like to double check. 2, negative 1, negative 4, 9. 2, negative 1, negative 4, 9. Perfect. Now we're going to go back to matrices again. Now this time we're going to go ahead and edit and find B. Okay, and we're going to edit matrix B. And our matrix here is 2 rows, 1 column. So we're going to change 2, enter, and 1, enter. And as soon as I see, hey, look, that's the same way that the other one looks, I know I'm good to go. -4, enter is 1 entry, and 1, enter is the other entry. So what we're going to end up doing now that we have that is we're going to quit out of here, go back to the home screen. I like to clear everything that I have. And then we're going to input those matrices back in. So we're going to go to second matrix again. And like I said, we've done this before. We're going to grab that matrix A, go ahead and put the inverse on there because it is A inverse. Put that multiplication because we're about to multiply this by matrix B. Oop, wrong place. Hold on. Go back to matrices and grab matrix B. And here is our final answer. X equals 2.5, negative 2.5, comma, -1. Now, it is a intersection point, so we do actually write it as a point. X is -2.5, Y is -1. We do write it as a point just because it is a system. That means these two lines intersect at one location. So it kind of looks like this. Intersection point. Okay? Well, that's pretty much the gist of the entire lesson, but let's kind of do a couple more just to get used to it a little bit, okay? So let's go into example number 1. It says, rewriting a matrix equation. Write the system of linear equations as a matrix equation. So they don't want us to solve or do anything. They just want us to write it as we did up here, as a matrix equation. So that's pretty easy. Take the leading coefficients, -3, 4, 2, and -1. And create your first matrix. -3, 4, 2, and -1. Notice that the way I see it is exactly the way I write it into the matrix. The next part is writing the variable matrix. Well, we have two variables. X is one, Y is the next one. X comes first, Y comes second. And then we have the last part, equals, right? And our values on the other side of the equation, 5 and -10. So that's how you write it. And we are done. Now, I do want you to be careful though. I do always check, make sure X's line up, Y's line up, equal signs line up, and then the numbers line up. So if I look at this one, I can go ahead and start. I have a 2, then a 1, then another 1, and a -3. Now remember that if there's no value coefficient number in the front, it is assumed to be 1. We have our X comes first, Y comes second for the variables, and then on the other side we have -13 and 11. So that's how you would write them as a matrix equation. They don't want us to solve, so we'll stop right there. Alright, let's go into example number 2. It says use matrix equation and a graphing calculator to solve the linear system. Well, we're going to just jump into, I like to sometimes set up what it looks like. So here we go. We have our leading coefficients, -2, -5, 3, and 2. So -2, -5, 3, and 2. Those, I'm going to erase it because it looks just awful. Okay, but you can see where those numbers came from. And then we're going to go ahead and get our variables. X comes first, Y comes second, and then our numbers, -19, and then 1. We're going to go ahead and label them matrix A, matrix X, matrix B. The goal is to get X all by itself. So we're going to go ahead and take the A inverse on both sides. Make sure it is once again on the left side. So we have A inverse times B. And I'm going to go ahead and just be on the safe side. I'm going to just do this. A. Whoa, announcements happening at school. Sorry about that. So we have A and B. And then we go ahead and solve it. Use our calculator. So let's kind of speed through this. We're going to go to our second matrix again. We're going to go to edit. We're going to edit the matrix A first. So it is a 2 by 2. So let's go ahead and press enter. We got -2 is one entry. -5 is another entry. 3 is another entry. 2 is our last entry, and then I double check, -2, -5, 3, and 2. Yep, looks good. Now let's go back and get our second matrix and go back to edit again, and now we're going to edit matrix B. It is a 2 by 1, so I'm going to keep going, and our entries are -19 and 1. Alright, we got that. So now let's go ahead and quit out of here and clear our home screen. And now we're going to go back to second matrices, grab matrix A, go ahead and get the inverse, multiply by a second matrix, and grab our matrix B. I'm sure you're already done and waiting for me. And here's our answer. So our answer is -3 on top, 5 on the bottom. What that means is our x equals -3 and the y value equals 5. We would have to write that as a point, -3 comma 5, and that will be our final answer. Great job. All right, we are going to go over using a matrix equation, solving this one as well. Maybe you'll be able to figure it out on your own, but I definitely want to talk to you about this one in class. It's very similar to what we have been doing, so if you want to give it a try, that'd be awesome. Great job today. Have a wonderful day. I can't wait to see you in class.